Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 530 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Russ Riesinger.
And I'm Janelle Slade. As the Democratic presidential candidates take to the stage a second time to square off in debate, Governor Steve Bullock will join them.
That announcement late this afternoon from the Democratic National Committee, which says Governor Bullock will be among the 20 presidential candidates in Detroit on July 30th and 31st.
In fact, Bullock will be the only change in the debate field from the first event in Miami last month.
He's replacing California Representative Eric Swalwell, who dropped out of the race earlier this month. Bullock missed the cut for the first debate in June. In a statement, Bullock said he's excited to add his voice to the next debate and hopes to be talking about affordable health care, quality public schools, and an economy that works for everyone.
A drawing Thursday night will determine which night Bullock and the other candidates will appear.
Well, we reported earlier this week on the raw numbers for the money raised by the half-dozen Montana candidates running for federal office in 2020. But where's all that money coming from?
MTN chief political reporter Mike Dennison drilled down on the details, and today he takes a closer look at the money behind Governor Steve Bullock's.
Governor Bullock launched his long-shot presidential campaign on May 14th, and in the next 7 weeks, he raised $2 million to finance his venture onto the national stage. As you might guess, most of that money is not coming from Montana. Among his itemized donations, $367,000 came from Californians, another $236,000 from New Yorkers, and $191,000 from the Washington, D.C. corridor. That's 38% of his total. And from Montanans, they gave him at least $276,000, or 13% of his total. But about 1/5 of his money, $464,000, is from small donations, which are not required to be identified on federal reports. It's likely some of that money came from Montana as well. He's also had some all-star donors, including Jeff Bridges, who gave him $500, and Jane Fonda, who chipped in $1,000. And before he launched his campaign, Bullock also raised another $2 million through his Big Sky Values Political Action Committee, which funded his travels and politicking around the country for the prior 2 years. More than half that money, just over $1 million, came from people in 3 states, California, New York, and Connecticut. Montanans also made contributions to this PAC, but not all that much. $158,000 at a minimum, and probably some more among the unidentified small donors. Most of that PAC money was spent on travel, donations to other Democratic campaigns, and consultants, including more than $400,000 to a pair of strategists who helped him raise the money. Governor Bullock still had $1.5 million unspent in his presidential campaign account 2 weeks ago. The question becomes, how much money does he need to stay in this race, and can he raise it? Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
Thanks, Mike.
And tomorrow we examine the source of the early money in Montana's U.S. Senate and U.S. House races for 2020, including the $4 million raised by Senator Steve Daines.
As both of their governors are busy on the presidential campaign trail, Montana and Washington are butting heads over oil.
Attorney General Tim Fox says Montana and North Dakota have petitioned to overturn a new Washington state law that would effectively prohibit Bakken crude oil from passing through the state of Washington. The law in question prohibits the loading and unloading of crude by rail unless the oil has a vapor pressure that registers significantly lower than the national standards.
Bakken crude tends to have a higher vapor pressure, which would make its transportation through Washington essentially impossible. Fox's petition claims that Washington's new law violates the Federal Hazardous Materials Transportation Act.
Well, at least one person has died. Another flown to a Billings hospital after a crash east of town on Highway 312.
Now, that call first came in around 3 o'clock this afternoon near the intersection of 8th Road and the highway. 4 people were involved in the 2-vehicle crash between an SUV and a Hyundai. Help flight transported one person and another was taken by ambulance. Montana
Highway Patrol is now on the scene investigating. Follow this story online at KTBQ.com and on air as more details emerge.
A Billings mom now faces up to 10 years in prison after she allegedly left her 1- and 6-year-olds with a drunk stranger last night. Prosecutors say 30-year-old Brianda Romero met another woman at a bar and decided to go to the other woman's home. Now, court records state on the way, Romero stopped to pick up her 2 children and then at a store to buy cigarettes, but asked the stranger to watch her kids. An hour and a half later, when Romero hadn't returned, a social worker came to pick up the children. Police found Romero's car in front of her own home, and after knocking for 30 minutes, were let in to find Romero passed out in a bedroom and allegedly said her children were with her sister or in bed. And a Custer man now faces felony assault charges after prosecutors say he accidentally shot his friend in the hand early this morning as his friend tried to stop him from driving drunk. Court records state 33-year-old Rafael Oyola Sanchez and his friend had spent nearly half a day drinking at the Junction City Saloon in Custer. Now, prosecutors say when Oyola Sanchez tried to leave his friend and the bartender tried to stop him. Now, his friend says he saw a gun in Oyola Sanchez's hand and he tried to grab it. The gun went off. Now, his friend was treated at Billings Clinic. If convicted, Oyola Sanchez could be sentenced up to 20 years in prison.
Well, it is a problem that is hitting Montana and Yellowstone County hard, taking its toll in a number of different ways, and none of them positive. The Substance Abuse Connect Coalition that was formed earlier this year wrapped up 2 days of talks aimed at finding solutions to some of the problems caused by substance abuse and making changes in the way the community responds. The coalition consists of dozens of people working in substance abuse, mental health, and law enforcement, as well as other fields. Project director says there's been an uptick in crime, hospital admissions, as well as child and abuse and neglect, all related to the meth epidemic.
The point of that is to create a community plan to really get a hold of this issue. We want to drastically reduce drug-related crime and addiction and all the associated consequences in Billings. We know that substance abuse is the 10th leading cause of death for us. People are dying literally because of this problem. Children are growing up in homes where substance use is normalized. 1 in 5 youth say they know somebody who's a dealer. We have a problem in our community. Yeah, some of those things are shocking.
Lundgren says the coalition expects to have a community plan outlining doable priorities by the end of the year.
The Sheridan Wyoming Rodeo and Street Dance last week brought out fun, laughter, and police. According to the Bighorn Mountain Radio Network, a countywide multi-agency impaired driving enforcement operation stopped a combined 850 vehicles and arrested 15 impaired drivers during this year's event. Along with impaired drivers, law enforcement also made 22 arrests for controlled substances, handed out 178 citations, and gave out 696 warnings.
A lightning-ignited fire has destroyed the historic Mount Holmes Fire Lookout in Yellowstone National Park.
Take a look. Yellowstone officials report during a severe storm yesterday, lightning struck and then burned the historic outlook to the ground. The structure fire also damaged a park radio repeater.
The fire lookout is located southwest of Mammoth Hot Springs and north of Madison Junction. You can head to KTVQ.com for more details. The Better Business Bureau reports that it's had a number of reports from the Northwest and Pacific states of people being scammed by people who thought they were Expedia customer service representatives. Victims have been calling a phone number labeled as the customer service line for Expedia to change their travel plans and have been told they need to purchase gift cards to do so. Several customers have already lost thousands of dollars in just the past few days.
Large, any company that's reputable is not going to ask you to pay a fee to get your money back or to make a change to your reservation, but they're also not going to ask for an unusual form of payment. They're not going to say that you have to buy them gift cards to make a change. They're not going to probably tell you to wire money in order to cancel a reservation or get a refund.
The real Expedia company is a Better Business Bureau accredited business with an A+ rating.
Well, there's more news from across Montana on tonight's MTN 9 o'clock news. Here's a look ahead. I'm Andrea Luz. With all this rain in our state recently, we're still tracking Montana's wildfire season. So could all the moisture help? We're going to find out tonight on the MTN 9 o'clock news on the CW.
But first, still to come on tonight's Q2 530 news, from one big sky to another, a former Billings educator is taking a giant career leap.
And in sports, Scott fills us in on why some college football programs are pressuring athletes to skip this week's Shrine football game.
And coming up in weather, some of the nation is going to actually be experiencing some of the hottest temperatures we've seen this year, but not so much us. We'll explain why coming up.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger, Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire, and sports with Scott Breen. This is the 5:30 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.